Yo, bad news. It looks like Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders could be scheduled for the same day as Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor. We're going to talk about that topic in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Now, a bit of bad news, and I'm going to explain why. It looks like first of all, Canelo has a fight with Average Pilgrim in February this month, and they said he signed basically a 2-fight deal with Rematch Room and Eddie Hearn. And his second fight, he was going to try to fight on the quote-unquote Mexican dates. And this particular year, Cinco de Mayo, the actual 5th of May, ends on a Wednesday or starts on a Wednesday. So that's not a typical day for boxing to take place on a Wednesday. So usually it's the first Saturday of the month that you would actually see a boxing fight. Now, the only thing is it's interesting too, if you look at the dynamic of fighters, you have a Mexican American in Jose Ramirez, and then you have a UK fighter in Josh Taylor, who are looking to go for undisputed. And that's with Top Rank. And Top Rank has basically said, I don't think they've officially announced it, but I have seen Jose Ramirez. I follow him, and I've seen that he's working tirelessly with Top Rank and all parties to try to make that fight. So that was the targeted date that they selected for that particular fight, again, as of recording this video, unless something were to change. So you have a Mexican American and a UK fighter that, if the deal gets done and announced by Top Rank, they would fight on May 8th, again, subject to change. But as of recording this video, that was the targeted date. And then you have a fighter from Guadalajara, Mexico in Canelo, and another UK fighter with Billy Joe Saunders. And they're saying that would happen on the same date. Now, Eddie Hearn has mentioned May 1st as a possible date. But to me, this is bad news because you look at, I've said the same thing on my channel. You know, some people took offense to it, but I'm just here to speak the truth. So it is what it is. Canelo Alvarez, since he's been with DAZN, in my personal opinion, and I think the stats and all the analytics and data that we have confirm this, but I think his star power is dwindling. Yeah, he's still popular. Yeah, he's still, people know him. But based on the picks and what's DAZN's allowing, and the type of guys and the guys' profile and all these things considered, I feel his fights aren't really developing that type of anticipation. So he's being passed up because there are still people in boxing, even if they don't have the quote-unquote pay-per-view name, they're still in compelling storylines, or steps in the right direction, step up challenges like Virgil Ortiz Jr. He's fighting Maurice Hooker. That's a solid fight. You have Roman Chocolatito rematching a guy that people felt could beat him in the first fight in Juan Francisco Estrada 8 years later. You have fights like upcoming fight with Jaron Boots Ennis and Sergey Lipinets. That's also a very good fight for where Boots is at and how his last fight ended with Chris Van Heerden. So I really feel Canelo's star power is beginning to fade. One, he's on an app, and it's hard because you don't have a network. So his fight, the visibility is just not the same. His numbers never come out. And if he's forced off the quote-unquote Mexican dates, since he's been with DAZN, this has been an ongoing thing for one reason or another. Last year, he couldn't fight in September because of the pandemic. He was scheduled to fight in May, and they were going to allegedly announce it with Billy Joe Saunders May of 2020, but then the pandemic started in March, so they never even came around or got around to actually announce the fight. Canelo did fight, but it wasn't until December. So he missed out on Cinco de Mayo last year and September of last year, 2020, because of the pandemic, right? And they never even, and it just showed you the sloppy business because the Billy Joe Saunders fight was never officially announced. So you can't even really blame it on the pandemic. It was taking forever and ever. And He got out of his deal with Golden Boy and got out of his deal with DAZN, and yet his next 2 fights, he went right back to them. So it really goes to show you the problem was more so with Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya, it appears. So the Mexican dates, quote unquote, last year, that was a non-starter, a no-go. But even before that, he was trying to fight Sergey Kovalev in September on Mexican Independence Day weekend. And guess what? They couldn't get a deal in the time. Kovalev was a champion, so he was pressured to fight his mandatory Anthony Yarde, who was pushing for the fight. And he's like, I don't got time, main events. And Kovalev said, we don't have time to be bothered with Canelo. We can't agree on the terms of the money. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to fight Yarde. And it made the Canelo fight worse because Kovalev struggled a bit early with Yarde and almost got stopped. His trainer, Buddy McGirt, said, if you give me another round like that, I'm throwing in the towel. And then that's when Canelo fought him after. So it really hurt. It would have been better if Kovalev and Canelo went straight into that fight, because we wouldn't have worried about Kovalev being in a super tough fight where he was almost stopped and then having a quick turnaround and fighting in November with Canelo. So that's another quote unquote Mexican date, September of that year, where Canelo didn't fight. And then the year before that, Canelo was supposed to fight Gennady Golovkin on Cinco de Mayo, and he failed a drug test. So Canelo begged for these dates. He says, I love fighting on, Cinco de Mayo, May, the first week of May, and in September, about the second week of September. And overall, especially since he's been with DAZN, for multiple different reasons, he hasn't fought on those particular dates. So if he gets bumped off of May 8th because they don't want to compete with Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, which to me is a better fight. If we take away whatever star power and glamour and glitz to just having somebody's name, in terms of a meaningful fight and what should shape up to be a really good fight from Top Rank, they got the better fight. The Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo's fights, it's like Bill Murray movie, Groundhog Day. They're all starting to seem eerily similar. You see what I'm saying? And it's seeming like very predictable outcomes. Like Canelo's a good fighter, yes, but between rehydration clauses or various clauses, short, quick turnarounds, the odds against the person like Avni Yildirim, who has no chance to beat Canelo in the eyes of many, coming off a 2-year layoff. It's just like the deck is stacked against guys. And Billy Joe Saunders, he hasn't really even done anything at 168, although he's a champion. You could play this role, but to play this role, it's only going to appeal to casual fans who don't know the way we got here. Actual boxing fans such as myself, we know that Billy Joe Saunders, he got granted an access to a title in his first fight, and he didn't really fight a name recognizable, dangerous opponent. He fought some unheard of guy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Canelo, he's saying he's going for undisputed, but we know that Billy Joe Saunders hasn't put up brilliant performances at 168. He looked bad on the KSI Logan Paul 2 undercard against, again, an unheralded Marcelo Esteban Corceres. So we'll see how it plays out with May 8th and see if Canelo decides to go heads up. The reason, again, that I say bad news is because, while some people might be like, oh, there's more boxing on for boxing fans, to me, I don't prefer it and I don't like it when they go heads up on the same day, because depending on the time, unless they synchronize it, then you're going to end up having to flip back and forth, set up 2 TVs or 2 devices to watch the fight. And it just becomes harder to watch and truly enjoy one boxing match. Like for me, boxing, if Mike Tyson was fighting, then other people just stay out the way and schedule their fight the next week or something. Vander Holyfield fight the next week. But now with boxing, it's when they both pick the same dates and go head to head at the same time, especially in the same sport. Like it's already happens. Sometimes there'll be a good UFC fight and boxing got to compete with that, you know, among other sports like basketball or whatever. But when boxing is like cannibalizing itself, and you have two fights that some want to see, and they can't just really enjoy one, like it's hard to absorb. And boxing is such a sweet science type of sport. It's hard to really just get comfy and hear the punches and absorb all the information if you have to flip back and forth on the channels. I mean, I've done it. It's real inconvenient. So we'll see how it plays off. Let's see if you know, maybe Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor bow off the date. I don't know, but that fight is a better fight, and if they can get it done, you know, maybe Canelo did. I guess we'll leave it like this: if Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez don't back off of the Canelo date, it proves that Canelo's star power is fading, because at one point I think Canelo's drawing power was so known and his level of opposition was better. He was fighting bigger events and more recognizable names like Chavez Jr. or Cotto or Erislandy Lara, to the point where people would just bow down, and you wouldn't even have a company like Top Rank or PBC that would even probably want to go heads up with Canelo. So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens. It's like playing chicken to see if either car swerves or who swerves first. But I don't personally like it when it's double booked for the same day, because it just becomes too hard. Like, you know, watching the undercard and flipping back and forth, you can't really just enjoy one telecast at a time. So we'll see if they clear it up or if they go head to head. But that's the latest bad news for Canelo. And again, if Canelo has to fall back off the date that he said he wanted the Mexican dates because they're important to him. So if he has to bow down to a top rank fight, an undisputed fight, then it's going to show you that his star power is starting to slip and dip, and DAZN's foolishly paying for it. But let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego sign out.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.